Can I say something? So I am a boy mom, and I have girlfriends that it makes me cringe sometimes the way I hear them talk to their sons, right? And I have told my girlfriends, I said, you're creating a monster without
Mm,
even really knowing it, because the first level of disrespect most young men feel come from their mother first,
mm.
and it's really sad because I think someone up here said they feel like they have to be the mother and the father to the kid. So, it's the way some women talk to their boys, and it's so disrespectful. And then I see that child, because he has to endure that because it's his mother. He's not going to
Mm.
disrespect her most of the time. So when he becomes a grown man, then he feels like no woman will ever talk to me the way I was spoken to. And then they have this hard exterior, which I have noticed. I'm only speaking to what I've experienced. So if it doesn't apply, please let it fly. But I have seen young men that had to put up with their mother's
Mhm.
mouth when they were in the mother's home. And then when they get out of the home, now no woman will ever disrespect them like that. And I think it's sad because it's like Frederick Douglass say, it's easier to build strong children than to repair broken adults.
Mm, mm, mm. That's a profound statement. It's easier to build strong children than to repair broken adults because the damage is already done. And she's speaking about single mother households, right? Where the single moms disrespect the boys or the sons in the house, and the sons can't fight back. So they are used to the toxicity. They're used to the the craziness. So in other words, when they grow up relating to other women, so if a woman disrespects him, he's used to it. That's why you guys have seen so many times men are in bad relationships, and you're asking himself, why does he let his woman talk to him like that? Why does he let his woman disrespect him like that? But that's because most likely his mom used to talk to him like that. Now, if some may be lucky, they may go to therapy, you know, they may get some positive male role models who may teach them, hey, listen, that's not how a relationship is. That's not how a woman should talk to you. That's not a positive relationship when you're going back and forth with a woman. But some guys are very unlucky, and they carry on that trauma, the generational trauma of thinking a relationship is where a woman talks to you whichever way with bad attitude. The whole thing of when women say men can't handle us, or men should handle us the way we are, comes from that exact thing that she talked about, where single moms talk to their sons so bad, and then the sons grow up emotionally unintelligent, and it's crazy.
You understand what I'm saying? So you have to get these babies right when they're young, and preferably in a house where a father can teach them how to be a man, because we can't teach boys how to be men. We can't do it no
Facts.
matter how we try. We can teach
Facts.
them how to be soft and how to be gentlemen and all that stuff like that, but we cannot teach a boy how to be a man. We don't know how to speak to that because we're not men.
Mm.
And I just think we need to do a better job of allowing these children's fathers to be a part of their lives, because a lot of women, not all, get mad at the father and don't want the father around the child, and then
Mm.
that becomes an issue as well.
Yeah, because they use the kids to get back at the father. Because trust me, guys, not every man who's on child support, not every man who has visitations, not every man who's dragged to child support or family court doesn't want to be a part of his kids. It's because some single moms, hate the father so much, so they use the kids to hurt the father. They use the kids to control the father, to do what she wants. They use the kids, especially when the father moves on with another woman who gives him peace. So they use the kids against the father. Now, sometimes if the guy is lucky, once the kids become 18 and start questioning, why was my father not there? Why was my father not doing ABCD? They may question, and then they get the answers, and then they actually turn to hate the mom. It's like, why were you keeping my father away from me? It happens all the time, man. When kids grow up and they realize the mothers were using them as bait against the father, they start to hate the mom. But by that time, the damage is done. They have lost so much time with their fathers.
Now you have this child around you constantly because you're pissed off at the father. We have to separate emotions from raising a child. Just because he don't like you don't mean he doesn't love his child.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
Mm.
what I mentor young ladies because it's so important to me. I want to see our girls do better. They call me auntie. So if I'm gonna be an auntie, I'm gonna do it right. I'm gonna try to keep you from banging yourself upside the head so that you can go off and be better, because each one got to reach one. That's how I feel. And this is a sensitive topic for me because children, they don't get to choose their parents. They get
Facts.
handed what they get handed. And
Yep.
sometimes it's not a good thing, and women are very emotional. We are driven more by emotion. And when things go bad with the dad, we tend to take it out on the children. It's a lot. And like I said, I'm not saying all, but that single mother thing that we be so proud of. I don't need you. I could do it by myself. No, you can't because your emotions won't let you. And when you get pissed off because you're carrying the weight of the world on your shoulder, then your children suffer. And I'll land right there.
Exactly.
Man, shout out to Boston's finest. Any woman who holds other women accountable is a queen to me. We throw out this whole queen thing every now and then. Women like to call themselves queens, but for me, the real queens are the women who all hold other women accountable. Because trust me, they are gonna call her a pick me. Other women are gonna call her a pick me. Other women are going to attack her character just for speaking the truth, just for holding them accountable. Because it's already bad enough if a man tries to hold a woman accountable, they're gonna cancel you and say all kinds of shit. But when a woman holds other women accountable, I love it. It just gives her queen energy. It makes her more beautiful because it's rare. It rarely happens. So when it happens, we have to celebrate the woman. And man, shout out to this lady.
Exactly, Boston. I agree with everything you said.
So let me just chime in real quick, and I just want to say this towards the topic. Everybody made good points, by the way, but I do want to say this because I know people try to talk about how the men are leaders and how upbringing impacts their ability to lead. But what I will say to that is, if we're going to hold men accountable for how they lead, we also have to be honest about who taught them. You know what I'm saying? How to handle emotions, um, conflict, and women. And that usually starts with the mother. A lot of these so-called toxic traits in men, they're not coming from their fathers. They're coming from being over mothered, emotionally manipulated, or raised without structure. So what I do want to say to everybody out there in the chat, that's if you want better man, you got to raise boys in homes where the woman respects the man so the boy learns how to respect himself. Because I
Facts.
strongly believe that if the boy was able to witness the father figure, his father, whatever, whoever is in the household, if he's able to witness the man being respected by the woman, it indirectly impacts his ability to respect his own self. And I'll
Mm.
land right there.
Yeah, it's like if the boy saw, because it's one thing to have a toxic single mom. I mean, there's no father, so all he knows is a couple of men coming in and out of the house, seeing the mom dating multiple men, and the mom being toxic towards him, raising her voice, and or sometimes even making him a son husband, making him the man of the house. But it's even worse to me. It's even worse because just because the dad is in the house doesn't mean he's setting a good example for the son. Sometimes the dad will be in the house and then the mom and the father are always fighting, but the kids are watching. So to them, the kids grow up watching the toxic environment between the mom and the dad, and they think that's what a healthy relationship looks like. When the mom is disrespecting the dad, or the dad is disrespecting the mom, and they're going back and forth. So the son is growing up seeing this dysfunctional relationship, and once he goes out in the world, guess what type of relationships he's gonna seek out? He's probably going to seek out women who are dysfunctional the way his mom was dealing with dad. So if the dad was being disrespected by the mom and he didn't do anything, guess what? He's more likely to be disrespected by women in his relationships as well when he grows up as an adult. So he's right.